And one of the things we learned last night, I would say, is that Minshew Mania might have been a little bit exaggerated as we came down the stretch run of the first 2 weeks of the season. Gardner Minshew looked fantastic, but it was a matchup between the beard and the mustache, and the beard won out by an order of magnitude. Ryan Fitzpatrick was virtually perfect, 18 of 20 from the field. What I stood out to me the most about this game was just how much Ryan Fitzpatrick's teammates like him. It seemed like when he scored that rushing touchdown and kind of went full-on fullback to put this game away, that everybody was excited to celebrate with him. Minshew threw the ball a lot. He went 30 of 42 for 275 yards, but he didn't ever really get the ball in the end zone. He got sacked several times. There wasn't a great rush attack. I mean, this was a pretty dominant win for the Miami Dolphins. It was their first double-digit win. We got a lot of listeners in South Florida who are long-suffering Miami Dolphin fans. It was the first double-digit win for the Miami Dolphins since 2017, which is a pretty wild stat to hit you with. We went 1 out of 3 on our bets. Gardner Minshew went over on the yardage totals, but we found a way to lose. I can't believe we lost this one. I felt like the over was in the bag based on how this game started. I didn't think the Jags would totally disappear on offense like they did. And also, they obviously was wrong about the Jags being favored. I was wrong about that one too. I thought Minshew Mania was going to continue. I was wrong. Fitz Magic dominated. And as a result, the Jacksonville Jaguars fall to 1-2, and a lot of the momentum that came out of their first win against the Indianapolis Colts has faded. Now, if you're a Jags fan, the positive is you get the Bengals. And you get a long rest before you play the Bengals, so you would think you have a decent chance to win that game. Then you go on the road against the Texans. Texans might still be winless by the time you play that game, and then you get the Lions. So the next 3 are still very winnable for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would say. The other thing is, from the Miami Dolphin perspective, a lot of people were starting to say, hey, when might we get Tua? Now I think that certainly is not going to be anytime soon, and it's possible they don't even really play Tua much this season at all because the schedule's pretty brutal in the first half for the Dolphins. Now, by the second half, they have a really kind of interesting schedule quirk where the Dolphins play the Jets, then they have a bye week, and then they get the Jets again. That's in mid-November. If you wanted to start a quarterback who was never played in the NFL before, Jets, bye week, Jets is maybe the greatest setup for a rookie quarterback debut that I've ever seen. And then you get the Bengals after that, which would mean you could get Tua against Joe Burrow. But we'll see whether the Dolphins are in any rush at all to bring him back. But if they were, that's probably the time in the season where I would think it makes the most sense. Again, when you get the Jets, bye week Jets, that seems like a pretty good opportunity to break in a new quarterback and get him some reps. We'll see what exactly ends up happening there. We have got, by the way, an absolutely loaded program coming your way. And up next, we're going to talk with the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, Greg Sankey, who I think is more responsible for the return of college football than any single individual in the entire country. And so we'll talk about that. Right now, the SEC seems good for every team. I feel like you need to knock on wood when you say that, but it seems like the SEC is in good shape theoretically to be able to have all 14 teams playing on Saturday. We'll get the latest from Greg Sankey about that. In the second hour of the program, John McClain, one of my favorite guys. He's been covering the NFL for 44 years. He's with the Houston Chronicle. He will join us in the second hour of the program to break down everything in the world of the NFL. And then in the third hour, we're headed out to Oklahoma, where our buddy Joel Klatt is going to be calling the top game for Fox College football. He's got Kansas State on the road against Oklahoma. And we will see what he thinks about what for many people will be the debut of Spencer Rattler. The other story that is out there, the Lakers won, and so for the third straight series, the Denver Nuggets are down 3-1. So you could argue that the Nuggets have the Lakers exactly where they want them. However, I don't think the Lakers are going to find a way to lose 3 straight games to the Nuggets. They won down the stretch of a game to take a 3-1 series lead. We know already that the Miami Heat have a 3-1 series lead, and so odds-on favorite at this point in time would be that we would get a Lakers versus Heat NBA Finals that almost no one will watch. And I thought it was kind of intriguing last night, kind of monitoring what people were tweeting about on my feed. Way more people, I feel like, and I'm sure the numbers are going to reflect that this is true, were watching the Dolphins go up against the Jags in a relatively, let's be honest, meaningless game in the NFL on a Thursday night than we're watching the NBA Western Conference Finals with LeBron James playing. And that's just a function of why the NBA never wants to be competing with college football or certainly the NFL. And now they're going to be going head-to-head with both in a big way. And that's why I've said, look, when it gets to the NBA Finals, if I were the NBA, I'd be like, man, we're only going to play on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday, right? Every week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. And I would even play back-to-back games to be able to get it done because nobody's going to watch the NBA when NFL games are going on or when college football games are going on. So, for instance, the Lakers are going to play and try to close out the Denver Nuggets on Saturday. College football is going to be going. Nobody's going to pay attention. And then on Monday night, the Lakers, I believe, Dub, you can confirm this, the Lakers, in theory, if they need to play a Game 6, would be going head-to-head with Monday Night Football, and literally no one is going to watch NBA basketball over the game between the Chiefs and the Ravens, which is probably the best regular season game that is scheduled in the entirety of the NFL, and it's a Monday Night Football game. So I just don't think there's any way that anybody's going to notice. In fact, the Lakers could probably lose Game 5 and they could lose Game 6, and most people wouldn't notice because that's kind of what happened with the LA Clippers. Remember, the Clippers got up 3-1, and then they played over the weekend, and there was a lot of other sporting events going on, and then a lot of you, including me, just took a step back and you're like, wait a minute, this game's actually going to be going for seven games, and most people didn't even pay attention to Game 5 or to Game 6. But that is where we are as we head forward in the NBA playoffs, where it looks like we are rapidly sliding towards a Lakers versus Heat NBA Finals. And Adam Silver would have to be somewhat happy about that because at least he would get LeBron James, but I just don't think anybody's going to care in terms of viewership for that. So what did we learn, big picture, from the game that people actually watched from the Dolphins and the Jags? I would say your biggest takeaway needs to be this. Tua may not come back anytime soon. Minshew mania may not be a reality as much as many people, including me, wanted to believe based on how the Jags looked in Week 1 and the fact that they played a very winnable Week 2 game, both division games against the Colts and the Titans respectively, that maybe they were going to be able to be decent and they wouldn't be in the mix for Trevor Lawrence. This was not a performance, if you're a Jacksonville fan, that makes you think, okay, Gardner Minshew is our long-term quarterback for the future. Doesn't mean that he might not be the long-term quarterback for the future because he was outstanding in the first 2 weeks of the season, but now you've got 3 weeks of data points, and you just have to keep stacking them up and see where you are by the time you get to the 11th or 12th week of the season and start to have a better sense of what might be coming down the line. The other thing I want to say is I watched some of Inside the NBA, and we're going to play – maybe we could play these 4 people here in the first hour too, Dub. I know we were saying we were potentially going to play them in the second hour, but let's actually think about playing – both of these clips, if we can, from Charles Barkley, talking about 2 different things that are obviously not normal basketball topics, defunding the police and also what happened with Breonna Taylor. Let's go ahead and play those right here. Only about a minute. You can listen to both these clips.
To really be careful when I hear these fools on TV talking about defund the police and things like that. We need police reform and prison reform and things like that. Because you know who ain't going to defund the cops? White neighborhoods and rich neighborhoods. So that notion they keep saying that, I'm like, wait a minute, we just going to leave, who are black people supposed to call? Ghostbusters? When we have crime in our neighborhoods, we need police reform. But like I say, white people, especially rich white people, they're always going to have cops. So we need to stop that defund or abolish the cops crap. Just bad the young lady lost her life. But we do have to take into account that her boyfriend did shoot at the cops and shot a cop. So, like I say, even though I'm really sorry she lost her life, I don't think that we can just say we can put this in the same situation with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. I just don't believe that.
I wanted to play both those clips because it's not easy to talk about defunding the police or the Breonna Taylor case, but it's been so obsessively covered in the world of sports. I thought that Charles Barkley right there in basically those 60 seconds did a better job discussing this situation than almost anybody in the world of the NBA has. And he kind of cut to the chase. We'll talk about that a little bit more later in the program, but we got to get to our next guest, Greg Sankey, who I think you guys are going to love. Let's go get signed up for Outkick VIP while you can. Outkick.com. But up next, it's the commissioner of the SEC, the man I believe is most responsible for college football happening this season, Greg Sankey. That's next. This is Outkick on Fox Sports Radio.